there was something that happened between you and Bradshaw.
Yeah. Yeah. That was another one of those kind of big show things where he wanted to try himself.
Tell me about what happened.
He's like, I was in actually rolling around with Blackman. He wanted me to come in and show him some stuff, because he was a big fan of it, and he wanted to kind of learn from me. So I remember we got in the ring, we were rolling around. And as we were doing it, I remember Bradshaw's out there being Bradshaw. Oh, I can do this. And he's like, and I don't remember how it happened, but someone challenged Bradshaw to grab his best hold and hold me down for like 30 seconds or a minute or so. I don't remember what it was, but it was a certain amount of time that he could last with me right before he gets tapped out. And so I remember laying down on the ground. I said, hey, Bradshaw, grab your best hold. And he's like, I don't have one. I said, grab a headlock, grab something, just hang on. He goes, all right. So he gets something, he grabs me. And I remember spinning up, rolling in, and got him in a leg lock. And he's like, it was like 10 seconds. I mean, it was fast. He's like, shit. He gets out, he goes, I ain't doing this. But he's like, because the funny part was when he went into the ring and he said, grab your best. I said, grab your best. I don't got one. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing in here?
I had Jorge Masvidal on my show, and we talked about how he has the record for the fastest UFC knockout. That flying knee kick that he did. Right. I'm probably not saying it right, but it
was pretty impressive. Yeah.
When you saw that, what did you think?
That's timing, that's preparation, opportunity, and he took it, right? But I guess the shocking part is how the guy on the other side, which is 101 in fighting, is like you use angles. Like, for the life of me, when I watched it, I was like, who walks straight in?
Yeah.
Like, who does that? It didn't make sense to me. Like, especially somebody as aggressive as Masvidal, you would use angles from the get-go because he's coming forward. So you're not going to walk straight out because you know what's coming. So you make him turn him so he doesn't have power. So that, to me, I think that's the thing I took from it. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to him about how he prepared for it, and he said he couldn't exactly train for it because it's too dangerous of a move to
You can't train for
somebody.
that. Yeah. You can't train for that. Yeah. There's no way anybody in their mind goes, I'm going to go knock this guy out in 0.2. It's like, you're not doing that.
Right, and no one's going to get hit in the face with a flying knee kick either. So.
Yeah, but it's because Masvidal was reacting instinctively to what this guy was doing. He came right out aggressively, and Masvidal just reacted. That was it. It wasn't planned. Somebody goes, well, if he comes out like this, I want to do this. No, because nobody comes out like that, or shouldn't, right? They don't come straight forward.
Like, what was your fastest fight?
Oh, man. You think? I don't think I've had any knockouts because everything I did was basically submission. So I always I took it slow. I was aggressive, but I was more aggressive in getting a takedown. Trying to smother him and get him to the ground. So I didn't try to finish somebody quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a new deal with WWE now?
No.
No?
No, they mentioned that, but I've had this Legends deal for a while.
Aha.
Yeah, so it wasn't like something that just happened.
Well, one of the things that everyone says is, why are you not in the WWE Hall of Fame?
It's like every single interview that I do, and I do a lot of them, that question comes up.
Yes.
And I'm honored because in order for that to come up means that people are very much interested in why, which means that I did my job, which means that I was relevant, which means that, there's an impact. So I'm happy for that. But it's just like I always tell people, man, I am very blessed and very, very happy with how my career went. And because I'm not into the Hall of Fame doesn't define what I did in pro wrestling. I mean, I know what I've done. I know the things that I did, and I know what I left behind. There's people copying my ankle lock. Kurt Angle did it. You got other people using it. That's an honor. Like, that means that I left an impact. Tap out. I know people kind of misunderstand this thing because they were like, well, there was submissions prior to that. No. There was a verbal commitment to say I quit. Yeah, they were pounding the mat, but before they stopped the fight, wasn't the pounding on the mat. It was they had to get right to them and say, do you give up? And they had to have a verbal commitment or pass out before they stopped the match. The tap out didn't come until I brought it in there where it was now a legitimate tap out. They didn't have to say I quit or give up or pass out. I took it from the UFC, brought it into the pro wrestling, and then I think people kind of confuse it now because they see people pounding on the mat when Bret Hart puts in the sharpshooter, and then the referee gets down and looks at him and says, do you give up? And they're hitting the mat, and then they shake their head, yeah, I give, or they pass out, and the referee stops it. And so they try to tie that together now with, well, no, see, they're tapping. No, that's not what stopped the match. It's because they got a verbal commitment from them to say, I give up. So I brought that in, which was a legitimate tap out that ended the match. So there's a lot of things, including, mixing MMA into pro wrestling.
Were you the first professional fighter to join pro wrestling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, let's not say pro wrestling, but I was the first one to actually join WWF. I don't know about underneath. I don't have anything on that, so I don't know.
No, but okay. So you were the first, before it was WWE, it was WWF.
Right.
You were the first professional fighter, whether it's boxing, wrestling, UFC, whatever, to actually join and become,
yes,
an actual WWF fighter at the time.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And crossing over and being able to mix in all the submission holds that now we see everywhere.
Well, WWE's Jim Ross, he said at one point that the WWE lost faith in you as a potential top star because you would arrive late and miss commitments. Have you heard this before?
Yes, and it's true. There was a point in time where I lost interest. A lot of it had to do with the screw job, with Bret Hart, and I was trained with Bret Hart. I worked with those guys, and there was some talks about me, working with Bret and him dropping the strap, and then all that happened, and it just felt like after that, all that happened, it felt like there was no direction for me. Like I didn't have with The Rock, like I had with The Rock, where we worked a program together and things were moving. It just felt like it started to kind of taper off and go downward, and like there was no direction for me. And so I really kind of didn't take it as serious as I was early on and doing the things that I did. But the one thing I will say is that there were a few times where I arrived late and I only missed once, I think, one time, but I arrived maybe 2 or 3 times late. But when that's being said, what are you comparing that to? Because from what I noticed, there was guys all the friggin' time coming in late. It wasn't just me.
Huh.
It was something that was a common thing for most wrestlers, that we arrived late. Unless you were in the main event or like you were being pushed, you had to be there way early because you had all these things that you were involved in. But as for the guys in the mid-card or below, there was nothing there for us. So when you say we came in late, they wanted us there 4 hours early. We got there 2 hours early. So I'm just like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so what are we talking about?
What's the big deal?
Yeah.
Well, Triple H, who is the chief content officer at WWE, people have said that he's been blacklisting you.
He's what?
He has been blacklisting you.
Oh,
you heard this before?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that also, and I've even at times felt like that might be the problem, but I don't know. I mean, when I've mentioned this, I don't know that for sure. But it's like just like with you when you talk about the Hall of Fame. Everywhere I go, people ask me that. Mm-hmm. I mean, why?
I mean, what is your relationship with Triple H over the years?
I think there was some things that happened during that time that just made me not really respect him in a sense of some things that were done with ribbing and stuff like that. And I'm not going into that because that's old and water under the bridge. So I don't want to bring that up anymore.
Are you talking about the the shit sandwich?
I'm not going there. I'm not going to bring it up. Okay. I'm going to leave that alone. Just because it's so far gone, and you know, it's just gone, and there's nothing there as far as what I feel that isn't popular for me to be at least recognized for the Hall of Fame. For me, isn't going to make me lose sleep over it, right? But it's like, and I do lots of interviews and constantly keep bringing up, why aren't you? And so for me, I'm happy with that. Like, I'm okay with that, because I feel like if those people and everybody are wondering why that is, then I've done enough for them to recognize me as that. And if it happens, it's great. But if it doesn't, man, it's not gonna define what I've accomplished.
Yeah, I remember I interviewed Pete Rose not too long ago.
Yeah.
Another guy who's not happy about his lack of Hall of Fame, inductions.
But what Pete Rose, no matter whether he's inducted in or not, man, the guys that followed it,
king.
He is it. Like,
that's it. No one's ever going to catch up to him.
No.
No one's going to play as long as him, as many games, and have the opportunity to catch that record. It'll be around long after he dies. The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame, the fact that he bet on teams when he was no longer a player.
And he's betting on them to win, not lose.
Yes. That part's a little gray area, by the way. But, you know.
What do you mean it's gray? It's like he's betting on his team to win.
Well.
There's like, if you're betting on to lose, you could pull pitchers and you could do certain things. But winning.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
I bet on my guys to win every time, man.
Right. I guess him being in that position is very dangerous because he could affect the spread.
He can't.
Considering
that. But if he's betting on him to win, you can't. There's no effect.
But there's always a spread.
Yeah, I don't know.
You see
I don't know the
saying?
details
In baseball,
on that.
It's not a win-lose.
Right.
It's a spread.
All right.
So you could win and not make the spread and still lose your bet.
Right.
And that's what made it kind of dangerous. But saying that, his record while he was playing as a player is unbelievable. So the fact that they don't put him in the Hall of Fame, I feel, is somewhat criminal.
And that's kind of what I'm leaning on too. Is my accomplishments that I have done in pro wrestling will never be copied. I was the first. I was the first to come in from mixed martial arts and bring in all these submission holds and then have them copied.